Okay, thank you. After listening to Rachel's opening at the start of the first half, I'm now going to do a selection of songs from Lemons Ruabla.
Good evening. Tonight's Spectrum looks at one of the major problems in the world today. The whole vexed question of what is going on. Is there still time to confront it, let alone solve it, or is it too late? What are the figures? What are the facts? What do people mean when they talk about things? Alexander Hardacre of the Economic Affairs Bureau. In this graph, this column represents 23% of the population. This column represents 28% of the population. And this column represents 43% of the population. Telling figures indeed. But what do they mean to you? What do they mean to me? What do they mean to the average man in the street? With me now is Professor Tickles of Leeds University. Professor, you spent many years researching into things. What do you think?
I think it's too early to tell.
Too early to tell? Too early to say. It means the same thing. The word say is the same as the word tell. They're not spelled the same, but they mean the same. It's an identical situation we have with ship and boat. But not the same as we have with bar and bar. As both generally mean different things, but sound the same.
Okay, so this evening we're going to start talking about the Internet of Things. And the Internet of Things I like because it sounds fuzzy and vague, but actually the Internet of Things are all around us. And at the moment what it is things like how things like our mobile phones, when we take a photograph, it sometimes tags where we are in the world when that photograph was taken. It's things like, for example, how tractors can plough fields by using GPS. It's all around us. All this data is being created, and machines are talking to each other, and we need to start thinking about how we're going to use that data. So I've been working with a few schools. One of the things is thinking about what other data is being collected about us. So with the Oyster card, for example, it knows where you've been around London. It knows it sort of tracks where your habits are. It might look at your regular journeys. But then you take that step on and say, well, actually, you normally go to work at this time of the day. This one day you didn't go to work. Do we need to send the police round to your house? Has there been a problem? Why aren't you at work that day? That sort of thing. Start using this data to find out what's going on. Also now, like Move business cards, you can get with a small chip inside them where you can actually then have some of the information. So I could give him my business card, and then he could actually read what's on there. I could take him to hyperlink to another website or something else. And this is a lovely idea. This is the good night lamp. So for example, I could say goodbye to Neil here, and I could give him my small good night lamp. And when I get home, I turn on the big lamp, and he sees my lamp turning on his little lamp. So again, you can imagine parents and children at a distance, so send them off to university. You know when they've come in and gone out, rather than switching the lamp on and off. It's like, again, using the internet and information sharing between them. There's lots of physical fitness things now going around. This is an example of Fitbit. So Fitbit, for example, not only will track sort of the number of steps you take, the number of calories you burn, but also it will weigh you, it will recognise you when you stand on the scales, which sounds a little bit worrying as well. But also it links to things like their phones as well. So all this data is swimming around, and how are we going to actually use it? These are the night fuel bands. The night fuel bands, again, looking at the amount of calories you're using and the amount of time you're exercising. But what also is interesting is they've opened up the software for anyone to start developing. So now lots of different people can start using their technology to develop different sort of uses for it. That'd be an email going off there. Sorry. And this is a happy fork. And a happy fork is based on the idea of if you eat too quickly, then you're more likely to have like indigestion, medical problems. You're also probably going to be like, eating too much maybe. So this happy fork measures, for example, today you had 76 fork servings, 3.1 fork servings per minute, 18% were over speed, and therefore it took you 26 minutes to eat your food. So it's basically gathering this data. What can we do with it? And today in the BBC News is about this under-skin health monitor. And this can test your blood. It's only about an inch long, and things like, for example, cholesterol or blood sugar, or even when people are having chemotherapy and measuring the drugs in the skin. So again, all this data is being created. So the reason why we're talking about this is because as we're working with the school, we're talking about all these different things that's going on, and all this data is being created. And actually, it's quite difficult. This is the boyfriend pillow. That isn't connected to the internet at the moment. Anyway, back on track. And all this information around us, and how do we get the students to engage with that data? This is a lovely website, Information is Beautiful, where he takes enormous data sets and makes beautiful graphs which mean things out of them. But again, that's where a very skillful person is taking all this data and is using it very creative in a very graphic way. So what we started looking at was infographics. And infographics, you may have seen them, often they're very long and thin, graphical ways of representing information. But it's data which is then sorted and then made to look nice. Here today is about the budget. HM Treasury has put out some infographics about, for example, how companies will get on with the voucher system, for example. So it uses data but presents it in a more persuasive, attractive way. And the reason why we looked at it is with the school saying, well, what we can do is, how can we get the students to think about, for example, their careers? How many pupils from that school went on to do, for example, science? How many pupils went on to do other things? How can we actually just grab their attention to engage with that data just for a moment, and then we can get them to do something else with it? So we start thinking about how can we get them to create their own infographics. So we start in a very basic way. So on your tables, hopefully there should be a newspaper. So if you'd like to find a sheet of newspaper, you might want to do one between two. But on your table somewhere there should be a newspaper. Okay. So maybe in there, if you like. Now we have a selection of newspapers. So already, some of you will have decisions that you've made about that newspaper. For example, we have the Sun, we have I think the Global Chronicle, the Journal, and at the back several copies of the Cumberland West Midlands Herald. Which you probably haven't got any prejudgments about. So what we did is got the pupils to say, well, look at the stories, scan through the news stories, how much of that do you think is true? So would you like to do that now? Scan through the 2 pages, look over it, decide how much you think is true, and then you might say, actually, let's tear it. So here's my piece of newspaper. I think at the minute, after scanning those stories, 2/3 of it's true. That's now my picture graph, my chart. So would you like to tear up the newspaper, please? How much is true? Okay, I'm sorry to stop you there, just to get it going. Sadly, we only have a short time. So what we did was, would you now like to hold up your picture graph? How much of that you think is true? All of that, lovely. Okay, some of it. Have a look around. Okay, so what we did, thank you very much. We did that. We also looked at things like paper plates. So we took a paper plate. How many of you had breakfast this morning? Tear it up. How many of you had a healthy breakfast? How many people do you think in the school have had a healthy breakfast? Things like that. So we're actually trying to do this to represent things with objects. So they're going to describe what they thought was true.
Okay, well, we've been analysing a few different types of newspaper.
And we've been cutting out the falseries, so only left with the truths.
Yeah. My group decided to highlight the truth bits and just leave the rest. And we thought the pictures were more truthful because they were actual evidence. But then the sports side wasn't really that much, it was all opinionated.
Yes, and in my group, we cut out the adverts, and well, here was a big advert, it's all opinion and stuff which we didn't think was true, and we've left things such as the frozen misery, because that's what actually happened to people, it was their lives and totally true.
So again, that was an example there. It was one of the schools we worked with where they decided what was true, and they thought sport was mostly opinion, but actually not the photographs were true. They made also some just very simple pictographs and charts to represent the data. Again, now to use digital sizing visually, you put in hashtags. Earlier on today, we had about the hashtag for TM Monkey, and we've got, for example, there, here are the most influential people, so you're all very influential there now.
Good.
Okay. And
banana in a minute, mate.
And this is picture chart. Picture chart again is a way of creating infographics. And this is one of actually a teacher from North East, Rosanna, who said, right, this is what if you're going to go between the C and the D grade. Okay, so that's the internet things. Part 1. Part 2 is to do with this teddy bear and this mobile phone, which is up its bottom. You'll have to come along tomorrow night to Blake's, which is another teach meet. Tomorrow evening will be free, to find out part 2 of this teddy bear and his misfortune. Thank you very much.